The following podcast contains spoilers for Awakenings. You have been warned.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of KFR News Radio. This is your host, Benjamin Button, along with your host, Miguel. Me gusto.
That's a me.
That's a you, my boy.
That is a me.
How are you, sexy man, scantily clad winner of a man?
Huh.
What?
What?
Exactly.
Are you watching me right now?
Yes.
I'm good. How are you?
I am so comfy right now. I'm in a robe, just chilling.
Ooh.
I'm relaxed.
Yeah.
In fact, I was so relaxed this weekend that I watched 14 movies.
I saw and I'm extremely jealous. I don't think I'll ever have the time to do that again, and I hate that. But,
yeah,
you know, fatherhood's great.
I normally don't have the time, but
Yeah.
I cranked the living shit out of some movies because I do have to catch up to the 2021 films for us to eventually, give awards to later.
Oh, yes, the Stonies, the
Stonies.
world-renowned Stonies.
Mm-hmm. Everyone's heard of it.
Yes, but what 14 movies did you watch?
So I'll go through them, and then I'll just kind of quickly talk about them as fast as I can. The first one I watched was The Mitchells and versus the Machines. And for the review, I put, in a world filled with Pal, be Manchi. And then I watched Nobody. And then I put for the review for that, Great Scott! Doc has had enough of this shit, Marty.
Did you review all of them?
I reviewed each one that I could, I think except for one of them. Next, I watched Chaos Walking with Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley, which is about the, all the men on the planet's thoughts are just out there. And I'm like, I don't even think I think this much. I'm hungry. Daisy is so pretty. Oh, Tom Holland doesn't have a shirt. Oh, man, I'm still hungry.
Yeah, it really, I saw that too. It kind of goes overboard a little bit. Cool concept, goes overboard a bit.
There's just so much, obviously, there's just so much thinking going on that it's kind of distracting.
Yeah, it's a detriment to the story, really.
Yeah. After that, I watched The Tomorrow War, which was kind of just a put-on movie. For the review for that, I put Chris Pratt punch alien good.
How's Sam Richardson in that?
He's actually the best part.
That's what I keep hearing, and I want to see it for him alone.
Yeah, but he's not in it enough that I would like.
Yeah.
But, he's in it, and he's the best part, easy. After that, I watched Raya and the Last Dragon, and then I said, listen, I love dragons, I also love Awkwafina, but I still wouldn't trust humans, even if Awkwafina Dragon told me to.
It's true. It's true.
Easy peasy.
Well. Yeah.
Then I watched Beckett, and then there's a line where he's like, believe me, I'm not that creative. So I put, believe him, he's not that creative, he's just Beckett. Which is the best that I could do for that one. Supernova, which is with Stanley Tucci and Colin Firth, and it's I put for the review for that, I said, I just want to kiss Stanley Tucci's beautiful bald cranium and tell him everything's going to be okay.
I've been wanting to see that. The composer for it is Keaton Henson. He's one of my favorite musicians. But it also looks compelling. I think it looks like a good movie.
It's one of the best gay men movies that I've seen. Period. I think probably the best, to be honest. I have to catch up on my gay men movies first, but after that, I watched Sweet Girl, which is one that I was recommended to watch, but they hadn't watched it. So they're like, yo, review this and see if I should watch it. I'm like, all right, I got time.
What's the first name of the person who did that?
Steven.
Make your own goddamn opinions, you son of a bitch.
Piece of shit. How dare you?
Yes.
And dear God, I was texting you during this movie, I think. I was like, dear Lord, this movie sucks. There's a twist in it that was absolute garbaggio. And for the review, I bet this movie would have been better if Jason Momoa was just my dad instead. And then I watched the documentary Val with, obviously, Val Kilmer. I put heartbreaking, invigorating. I had a whole video on it, so I'll just skip all that. It's redeeming, kind of, in a way.
Yeah.
I know he kind of was like a shit and stubborn man. But, I never actually cared for Val that much. This makes me want to take like a second glance, maybe some of his earlier workings that I haven't seen before.
Watch Tombstone.
I have watched Tombstone. I've watched Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah.
And obviously Batman, but there's not too much besides that.
I hear he's good in The Doors. I haven't watched The Doors, but that's more of my aversion towards Oliver Stone than it is, The Doors or Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
I just don't like Oliver Stone movies.
Okay.
Or him as a person, because he likes South American dictators and thinks that America should be that way. But yeah, it's that's one on my list. But Val Kilmer, I mean, he was always a talent. Even I always knew he was a good actor, even when I didn't see him. I mean, he's a Top Gun too.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then after that, we watched The Night House, which there will be a review up on YouTube eventually when I get to that.
I'm excited to see your editing on that.
Yeah, when I'm not watching every movie possible. And then I watched Nomadland this morning, which was I just woke up at like 6 a.m. and was like, I'm not going back to sleep. I might as well watch a movie. I might have to rewatch this movie because I was paying attention, but I feel like a lot of people loved it more than me, and I want to give it a second chance on that, considering I was sleepy as shit just watching it. But it was really good for the most part. Really kind of crazy how. I mean, I know how people live in vans and stuff, but it's this is an actual in depth this is how people are living. It's telling this whole story of this woman who's in her 60s and everything, just going out and trekking.
Yeah.
So
that movie has some really great parts, and it's beautifully shot and beautifully acted and all that. I feel like it kind of dilly-dallies a bit too much in some scenes, but there are some really impactful parts. I do think that the reason it won the Oscar for Best Picture is because it came out at a time when people were not seeing people, and it's a very human story. Otherwise, I think another movie probably would have won. I don't know which one, but that's not to say it's not a good movie. It's just I don't think it's as powerful in a world where people see each other every day, because it's extremely human and
But yeah, there was Nomadland, and then I watched a movie called Shadow in the Cloud, which I was texting you very much about this morning. It's been sitting in my Hulu watch list for a very long time. And I was just like, you know what, I'll get to it. I only really watched it for Chloe Grace Moretz. She's the only reason I actually watched it, because I didn't read anything about it. For the review I put, I only got this high of a review because I liked Chloe's performance. Other than that, this movie was something else. And then I put Chloe punch Gremlin good. It was a really wild ride. It takes place in the 1940s, and there's synthwave music, and there's 6 or 7 men on this plane, and they're all arguing for a constant 45 minutes before anything actually happens, and it's just really annoying. And then it gets wild after that.
Synthwave does not need to be in everything, and I wish people would realize that.
Specifically not in 1940s.
Yeah, I am of the opinion that for the most part, obviously there's some exclusions, but for the most part, the score should match the time period that it's in. And that's not to say that you should have harpsichord in every 1970s movie.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be something that is so of a time, and synthwave is definitely of the 80s. Even modern synthwave is trying to emulate the 80s. So yeah, that's just my opinion.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I watched Awakenings, which we'll talk about in a moment. And then the last movie I watched was The Assistant, and for that I put a little quote from the movie, which was "Don't worry, you're not his type." And then for that I put, "What a relieving yet at the same time absolutely terrifying line."
Oh,
and
yes.
That movie was kind of crazy. I mean, I know that stuff obviously happened, Harvey Weinstein, and there's countless more.
Yeah.
And this movie did a really good job of showing that to us, but
definitely
just through the assistant's eyes, and how she kind of wanted to blow the whistle, but she couldn't for the sake of her job and stuff like that.
Yeah,
it was really good movie.
Yeah, it's a really well made movie. I'm glad you checked that out. I watched that last year. But yeah, I really enjoyed that one too. So we flip-flopped this week. Granted, seeing 14 movies in 1 week is not really a thing I do anymore because responsibilities.
You've been with child.
I've been, me specifically has been with child. So I watched 3 movies this week. that's even a lot for most Glenn weeks.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
The first one I watched Coda. It's was it acronym? The one where each letter means something?
Yep.
Whatever that word, I'm pretty sure it's acronym. It's for child of deaf adults, and it's essentially a coming-of-age story of this this teenage girl who is able to hear her, and the rest of her family is deaf, though, and it's like her trying to pursue a music career. And my official review for this is fuck this film for making me feel feelings.
Yeah.
Because it is really, really powerful, and it's a feel-good movie, but it's also got a lot of really, emotional parts. So I highly suggest people check out Coda. It's one of my favorite movies of the year so far.
I was gonna say that's on the list, right? I'm definitely
my top
soon.
10 list. Yeah. And on our Stony short list, which is really just every movie that's come out in 2021. But Coda, go check it out. It's also on Apple TV Plus if you're not comfortable with going to theaters or you don't have it in a theater near you. Then I watched The Night House, which we should have a review of that hopefully by the time this is up, because this is coming out in a week. Hopefully you'll have it done by then.
Yeah, it'll definitely be up by Wednesday.
Check out our YouTube channel for our review of The Night House with Rebecca Hall. And then I watched Awakenings, which we're going to get into in a minute. You said you don't have any news, but I have one little bit of news.
Hit me, baby.
Again, going on the trail of Scarlett Johansson suing Disney and Disney doing that. Denis Villeneuve defends Scarlett Johansson's Disney lawsuit, which anyone with a brain which is essentially everyone except for Disney, because it's so obvious that they were in the wrong. Yeah. That even people who don't know how contract law works are rooting for Scarlett Johansson. But he said that from now on he's going to make theatrical exclusivity an added clause of his future contracts.
Yeah. So I saw that he's also pretty annoyed with the streaming release for Dune.
Oh yeah, I would be too.
Absolutely,
it's horrible. And there a lot of people are calling Disney's reaction to Scarlett Johansson, the lawsuit, misogynistic, because honestly they would not have bashed any male actor, honestly. And it kind of, whether it is in a purposeful misogynistic move or just subconscious, I fully believe that is. I really don't like Disney.
I don't either, for sure.
I wish they didn't own like half of the studios and half of the movies, but that's the way it is. It's impossible.
Honestly, if they would have just been like, you should definitely have this money, it would have been a good thing for them. They would have been like, oh yeah, we fucked up.
Let's be honest, Disney does not fucking need the money that she's asking for. So they're dumb for not just settling it and trying to make a big deal out of it.
Now here we are.
Disney sucks. It sucks that if you're a movie buff, it's more or less impossible to boycott them because you would see like 10 movies a year. Yeah. But good on Denis Villeneuve. I really hope he's able to get theatrical exclusivity for his future contracts.
A fantastic director, so hopefully he can get those. And I'm sure it wouldn't be that hard to either, honestly.
For him, his movies don't usually make a lot of money, but they're always good. They're always
always beautiful.
Yeah. So if art was more powerful than money, which it should be in my opinion, then he would, but studios suck and Disney sucks even more. Good on Denis. Hopefully things continue to sway towards theatrical releases. I am not against streaming releases as well. I want them included in contracts from the get-go.
Yeah.
So people have the option to do theatrical exclusivity, and I want the window for theaters. It's a both sides thing where I feel like theaters made it impossible for streaming services to put their movies in theaters exclusively for like 45 days. Because they originally they wanted a 70-day window. Yeah. And now, AMC has a deal with, I think it's
Warner
Brothers for 45-day window, which is perfect. Month and a half. That's all you need. Yeah. And that's what Netflix wanted all along. So I'm hoping that it's kind of a hybrid solution.
Yeah, I was even saying to some other people talking about this that 2 weeks would be like just a good thing, not in like the
2
weekend.
weeks. 2 weeks, I think, would hurt theaters.
Okay,
just because people would be, oh, it comes out on this in 2 weeks. Let me just save the money. A month and a half is just like, do I really want to wait a month and a half?
True.
So like, while for people like you and me, where we're gonna see it in theaters if we can, that would make sense. The average moviegoer is not gonna do that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I would agree. But anyway, that's what that is. So, fuck Disney.
Fuck them.
Yay for theatrical exclusivity. And I hope that Shang-Chi really shows them the what for, to quote the 1920s. Give them the what for. And just really overperforms what they're expecting. Not in a pre-pandemic number kind of way, because that's impossible, but in a post-pandemic number kind of way, I hope it does really well. Even if that means Marvel gets more money. And I hate Marvel too. But that's a whole other story. I'm rambling. Let's get into Awakenings.
All right. Speaking of the 1920s, let's jump to the 1940s and the 1960s.
I thought was his
1969 is when this all happens.
But I'm Robert De Niro's child part. Is that the 40s?
Yes.
Okay,
my boy.
Then continue.
Goddamn right it is.
Can you hear me? Does he ever speak to you?
Of course not. Not in words.
No change, dated 9/11/44.
Your patients, Doctor, haven't moved in decades.
What I believe, what I know, is these people are alive inside.
How do you know that, Doctor?
I know it.
I just wanted to say to you, I preferred your explanation.
At 200 milligrams, he showed no response. Maybe he needs more.
Maybe he needs less.
Awakenings. The victims of encephalitis epidemic many years ago have been catatonic ever since, but now a new drug offers the prospect of reviving them. Directed by Penny Marshall, written by Oliver Sacks, the book, and then Stephen Zalian, the screenplay, and then stars Robert De Niro, Robin Williams, Julie Kavner, and then Ruth Nelson, and then John.
John Hurd. Peter Stormare's in there for a hot minute. Do you want to take it from the top or just move on?
I just move on. I'm gonna have a stroke here soon. Holy crap!
So yes, Awakenings. It is a movie about a doctor who treats. I almost said patients of encephalitis. Yeah, come get your encephalitis here. Starring Robin Williams, all those people that we already talked about.
So I had picked this movie because recently there's been a lot of talk about Robin Williams. Obviously, his
anniversary of his death.
Deathversary was very recently. So I was like, I could use a good Robin Williams film. And this is one that I hadn't seen yet. So I was like, we got to see it with my eyeballs. And Robert De Niro's in it, so that's, all the more splendor for the coffee, even though it's splendid, but whatever.
It's not even splendid, it's Splenda.
You idiot, Glenn. I'm going to punish myself later. But this is a movie that I was looking forward to. And you know what? Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So, Robin Williams is one of the few actors that can be taken as seriously as a dramatic actor as he can a comedic one. And it's just great to see him in dramatic roles. It's something that he has this presence of him that's very calming, that really helps in like doctor roles like Patch Adams and Good Will Hunting and stuff like that. And, with this being Penny Marshall, I was a little wary that this would lean more comical, and when the plot doesn't seem comical at all, because she's known for Big and A League of Their Own and stuff, which have relatively comic moments, even if they're not 100% comedies. So I was really worried going into this. I thought it could go either way. It could kind of overdo the comedy in a way like Patch Adams. Patch Adams, I think it worked a little bit, but I was interested to see how it went, and I was relieved to see that it was more dramatic with, all the comedy came in very normal, natural ways.
Yes. What was kind of funny about this was that usually he kind of does kind of like break out in some sort of comedic, like he'll do like a scene or two where he does do some really funny stuff. He didn't even do, I don't think, really one really funny thing in this.
Yeah, I think the funniest probable intentioned funny part was when he was running and he said, "Where's my glasses?" and they were on his face.
Yeah, that was that was definitely improv for sure.
Yeah,
that had to have been.
Yeah, that's like really the one scene where it's just like, oh, I can see this being an improvised part.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, I think for me, I think the best part was Robert De Niro and just how great he was at this patient, and like honestly, how all the patients were, performing as these people who were catatonic, basically.
Yeah, they were all great,
and just how great they were in their physical roles. Obviously, specifically De Niro, he really came to when it came to this performance. I hate myself. No, he was definitely like the best part of it, and I would have liked to see a little bit. Actually, no, you're right. I think it would have been better if Robin would have held back, and I'm glad he did. Now that I'm thinking about it, it would have taken away from the whole scale of how this whole how he's trying to find this cure for this, and everything, and like how serious he was about it. And it really was great because he was such a... What the fuck was that?
Sound like a ghost.
Yeah, it sounded like a goat. Jesus.
Is that the dog?
I think so, unless we just got a random sacrifice in the house. I'm not too sure. Yeah, I don't know where I was going after that. So,
the one thing I really liked about this that I was not expecting is that it opens with Robert De Niro's character as a child and shows how he was before the encephalitis and kind of the spiral downward, and to the point where I kind of almost thought that this was going to be Robert De Niro's movie, but then right after it jumped to 1969, it became Robin Williams' movie for a good portion. But like the kid they got to play the young Robert De Niro looked almost exactly like him. Like it was great casting, and he was, and it wasn't just looks too. He was a pretty good actor as well. Kid actors, especially in the 90s, were not really that great. But he really sold it, and I really liked that they showed. It was a quick and efficient way of showing that encephalitis is not something that you're born being affected by. Yeah. Because otherwise, like, people without knowing would just see those people and just assume that they've always been like that and were like that from kids. So I think it was a really brilliant move to show how he was before the encephalitis kicked in, because then it showed you the hope for them to get better potentially, and that it wasn't just something that was going to rule their lives forever. And it's just a brilliant move by Penny Marshall and Steve Zalian, is that his name? Yeah, I think so. Steven Zalian, the screenplay writer. Something I wasn't expecting, but I really enjoyed that they included that, because it really did sell it right off the bat.
I'm also very glad that they didn't stick with just De Niro the whole movie. Like they stuck with a lot of the other patients, and that was obviously good, because that way they're not they're testing a bunch of people on this one drug on these all these people have the same like symptoms, and they want to like make sure they're all being treated, not just this one. He's obviously like the main focus, because it's Robert De Niro, and then he's got this. His case kind of gets worsened as he uses the drug, or not worsened, but he kind of falls back into it, while the other ones are mainly okay for the most part.
They all eventually go back. Yeah, but the transition hits him the hardest. Yeah, granted that
because he was on it the longest.
Yeah, and that could just be, how it it was edited, like, you know, it'd be kind of pointless to show them all struggling the way that he did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely a powerful use of the time of the film to show how, like, it only worked for a little bit and then he started going back, and that was really just heartbreaking. That was not something I was expecting, especially from Penny Marshall. The Marshalls, her and her brother Gary Marshall, they usually like happy endings, and this kind of had a sad ending.
Yeah, pretty damn sad ending.
And with them all kind of regressing back to how they were before they started using the drugs, even while on the drugs. And
then it even stated that they haven't had a breakthrough case like this since '69.
Yeah, which is really just, you know, especially knowing that they are all aware of their situation. It's essentially being like stuck in sleep paralysis for your entire life.
Yeah.
Maybe not as terrifying because your brain.
Well, they were saying that they were like aware of what they were doing. They just never really had a grasp on it or cared. Yeah. So it was just kind of just happening, but they never really took it in.
Yeah, you know? But when Robin Williams, his character, I want to say it is probably when Robert De Niro's character, through the Ouija board, suggested that he check out a poem about a panther. The realization that they're all essentially trapped inside their brain was just heart-wrenching. You know, it hit me so hard. Like, it's one thing for them to be unaware of their situation. Yeah. It's another thing to know that they're completely aware. Some of them don't really care or couldn't control, but I'm sure there are some that were just like, why can't I do this, you know? And that their interests and their music tastes were more or less the same throughout their struggles. It's just really just opened your eyes to how crazy the human mind can be.
Oh, absolutely. I have a lot of respect for like the doctors and nurses who like have to not deal, but like I'm losing the word that work with these people, like, because I personally, I know I would
take care for.
Yeah, I would be bad at like doing this stuff.
I would be as well.
But like I have a lot of respect for the people who do and that are willing to go.
Especially prior to the 90s, because you know, we have like the Penhurst Asylum near us, which I don't think they had any encephalitis patients, but they, you know, with mental illness, people essentially just threw them into these asylums, and they were incredibly understaffed and called it a day. Yeah, and it's just to work in one of these places prior to the 90s and still have the compassion and empathy for them, like they were people, because they are people. It's just, you know, I hate to say that humans know more now, and it's more understandable that they're treated with humanity now. But, you know, back then they were just thought, like, oh, they're just essentially vegetables, which is where the term comes from.
Also were just they were just like, here, throw them in there, give them a lobotomy, call it a day. Oh, that didn't work. Oh shit.
Yeah, well, now he's worse.
Well, fuck.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed how this film showed the scientific process. You know, you were with Robin Williams the entire way, where like from the get-go, his first patient, where he turns around and then he looks back at her and she's like bending over for her glasses, and he thinks maybe she's like playing a trick on him, so he tries to like trick her into thinking that it's going to happen again, and then he realizes it's just it's not a reflex. He said he's like borrowing the motivation of the glasses, like, or ball.
The glasses or ball.
I forget exactly the phrasing he used, but it you know, it was a really cool thing to see where his thought process was and how it evolved from there, and how he realized it was encephalitis. It just did a really good job at showing his scientific process of
through each step that he was doing. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
I liked the fact that it wasn't just him and the patients, that they brought in like the families of the patients too, and just really showed like how much these people cared, and that were willing to like you come and visit like every other day or something like that, or the weekends, and just give these people who are basically statues, you know, these show them that there's still people hanging on for life of these people, like hoping for the best. And I thought that was a really good human addition to it.
Yeah.
And I thought it worked very well, especially when Robert Downey Jr.'s Robert De Niro is kind of like crushing on this one chick. He's a man now, and he's like, wow, she's really pretty. And like so she's like in there visiting her father, and it's even more human emotion showing that he really likes this girl, and then it slowly gets dwindled down because he's regressing back to his state that he was before.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking to see
it
that.
It really is. And there was one shot where you see one of the patients. It was after they kind of revealed that they were all slowly regressing. I believe the character was Frank, I want to say. Frank or Sidney. But one of the older gentlemen, you saw like one of his grandkids like trying to get his attention after he had regressed, and it's just little things like that which aren't really like talked about. They're just shown, just tear you apart. It's just hard to think what it's like to be, these people knowing that they're regressing back into their old encephalitis ways, and also being the family members, knowing that you had this chance to have your old family member back, and you had it for a little bit, and just losing that again. It's got to be such a weird feeling, because it's something you didn't expect you'd ever get, but then you got it, and then it's being taken away.
I can only imagine how traumatic it would be.
But then it also might give you, hope that it would happen again. It's just a really, roller coaster of emotions there.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't have too much more to say. I think for sure Robin Williams was great. I'm glad he, like you said, wasn't overly comedic or anything like that.
Yeah.
I do love him in his dramatic roles very much, and I wish he had done some more. He did have a really great career.
He did, yeah.
De Niro was great physically, and obviously with his performance and everything like that. And it's just everybody really was. Penny Marshall does have some good movies under her wing there. Like, I love Big, League of Their Own. I've seen once or twice at least, and then this one's definitely the most really heartbreaking of them all. Obviously, she's got like 3 or 4 more, I think, after that, maybe even more.
Oh yeah,
that I got to get around to maybe.
She's a great filmmaker, but I got a couple more things.
Absolutely.
The one thing I liked that I think is very underappreciated in this film, John Hurd, who played the head doctor, Dr. Kaufman, he played like the antagonist, quote unquote, if you will, where it's always a trope in movies with like doctors who are ahead of their time medically or whatever. There's always that one guy who's their boss that's standing in their way. And while John Hurd's character was that character, he was also very logical.
Yeah.
Where he would be like, okay, we can't do this for all of them right now. You get one patient and we'll go from there. And like it's at first you thought he was just going to be this guy who was just in his way the entire step of the way, and to an extent he was, but he was also very logical. It wasn't something like his reasoning was not completely out of the ordinary and unreasonable.
Yeah, because it would have cost $12,000 to go through with each, like, each one of these patients.
Without knowing that it worked, it would have been insane. So I really appreciated that. Like, they still had that character, but grounded it in reality, where, like, you understood where he was coming from. Yeah, it was a little bit annoying because it slowed the movie down a little bit, but you also had to see how Robin Williams' character had these obstacles. And, it was one of those things where they never really butted heads to the point. I'm glad there was never a scene where Robin Williams' character got fired. Yeah. Because that's just something that happens too much in those things. Hell, I think it even happens in Patch Adams. But I think that's the plot of Patch Adams, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really appreciate it. I think that was a great aspect of that. That's something that's overlooked because it is such a minor character. And then I have one question for you. The nurse who Robin Williams worked with a lot, Eleanor Costello, did you
Marge?
recognize her? Oh, yeah, fuck you. I was going to build it up to this whole thing. Anyway, yeah, Marge Simpson, Julie Kavner, a year after The Simpsons first came out in this movie. Yeah. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, she's in a couple movies. It's always nice to hear her voice and be like, that's Marge Simpson.
Yeah, obviously it's not as exaggerated as it is in The Simpsons, but yeah.
She's got the very iconic voice.
Yeah, thanks for ruining that moment, though.
I'm sorry, I love you.
It's okay, I love you too. But yeah, that's all I got to say. All right, so Awakenings doesn't make it onto the KFR shelf, as everyone knows. It needs to be a unanimous decision whether or not we put this on the shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaid. And Glenn, you picked this. So, does Awakenings make it onto the KFR shelf?
I think this is a heartbreaking story, and I don't like being sad. In fact, I hate feeling emotions altogether. I'm going to say this does make it because it made me feel those things, and I like that, even though I hate it. No, this is a great movie. I've expressed before you said your last two things that I think a lot of the things in this are great, and you know, it's just a good movie, just a solid, good, heartbreaking film.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I don't think it was as not flashy, but it's not really like it's not a movie that's gonna break new ground or anything.
Yeah,
it's your typical, especially of the 90s and late 80s, feel good movie, but also has the heartbreaking aspect of it. And I was honestly waiting to hear what your thoughts were before making my decision. But this movie was nominated for Best Picture. It was nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role with Robert De Niro, Best Writing for Screenplay from another material. And, you know, hearing you kind of helped me make this decision. I was on the fence either way, but I do think that this becomes a shelf boy. I just wanted, you know, confirmation that I wasn't
here to give it to you, Papa.
Yeah. So Awakenings makes it onto the shelf with the likes of Apostle and Handmaiden. That brings us to our plugs for next week. Glenn, it's your week still. Go first, you son of a bitch.
So I've been on an Aquafina kick this last week ever since I watched Raya the Last Dragon, and I gotta tell you, I love the woman. She's fantastic, and I never actually listened to any of her music. I know she's had it, but I've never actually taken a gander with my ears to it. So that's basically what I've been doing this whole weekend while also watching movies. Somehow I was doing that, and I know she kind of became a breakout star with a song called My Vag, which was like a remix of My Dick, if anybody knows that one. But so far, my favorite song has been Cakewalk, but it's more or less just go listen to her music. She's like a huge talent, and you know, she shows it between, you know, movies, you know, acting, and just comedy altogether. Yeah. And just give it a listen if you dare.
The fact that she wasn't nominated for an Oscar for The Farewell is a travesty.
God, yeah, it is terrible.
She's fantastic in that, and she won the Golden Globe for it. Not that the Golden Globes mean shit because they're usually stupid, but that was the one time I thought they did right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, Aquafina, listen to music, watch her movies, stuff.
Do it, you bastard.
She got a show on Comedy Central that's pretty funny. I suggest that too.
Now these bitches can't give me back down. Rose to the gold throne from the asphalt. Paid up my school loans with school shows. School's gold, made it through old highs and new lows. Now these bitches can't give me back down. They just wanna cling onto my cakewalk. Cause they don't give a fuck until you cakewalk. Real gold mask, that's a fake walk.
My plug for this week, I actually just picked this. I had something completely else lined up. I'll probably save that for next week. But I saw this trailer on IMDb for a adaptation of Ingmar Bergman's Scenes from a Marriage, starring Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain. Love both of those actors. I personally have not seen Ingmar Bergman's Scenes from a Marriage. I have it on Blu-ray with my Bergman Cinema box set from Criterion. But it's also like 3 hours long, so haven't watched that. But I love Ingmar Bergman. I think he's a great director. This is going to be a mini series, I believe, on HBO. Scenes from a Marriage, the trailer on IMDb, I'm sure you can find on YouTube as well, with Oscar Isaac and Jessica Chastain.
There is a house built out of stone.
In the beginning of a relationship, everything is thrilling and it's new.
Research says that when the woman is the provider and the man is a caregiver, the marriage has a greater chance of success.
Huh, yeah, that Kate?
Loud and clear. You just believe as a couple, nothing can hurt you. And then you gradually start to realize that actually anything can hurt you.
We're gonna sit here and we're gonna talk as long as it takes, okay?
But there's nothing left to say.
What is this? What is this thing where we can't talk?
This is a place.
Do you know how long I've wanted to leave? I'm gonna go out of my mind if I don't leave right now.
Right now, like right this second.
If I don't leave right now, I know I'm never going to.
And that is my plug.
There you go.
Yes. So those are our plugs for that this week. That brings us to our assignment for next week. It is Roulette Week, streaming Roulette Week.
The
Hopefully,
dastardly bastards.
yeah, it's a fun thing, but also very frustrating. But Glenn and I talked. We are from now on only gonna put rating filters on it too. We're not gonna just let it be from 0 to 10 or 0 to 100. It's gonna be 6 or higher.
Yeah.
This week, just because last week fucked us so much, I'm making it 7 or higher.
Especially after that and Pink Flamingos in a row.
Yeah, I'm making it 7 or higher just for our sanity. And then after this week, it will be a 6 rating or higher for the roulette. But yeah, we spin the wheel 3 times, and we pick the one that interests us most out of those 3 spins. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
We got to pick it. And that brings us to our first spin on the very real roulette wheel. House.
There you go. House.
Totally a movie that I've seen before and love.
All right.
It is 1977 Japanese horror film on Criterion Channel. It is a schoolgirl and 6 of her classmates travel to her aunt's country home, which turns out to be haunted. Directed by Nobuhiko Abayashi, written by Chiho Kadasura, Chigumi Obayashi, and it is starring Kamiko Ikegami, Miki Jimbo, Kumiko Oba, and Masturbara. Oh, that's too close to masturbate. Sorry, that's fucked up.
No, that's perfect.
So that is House on Criterion Channel. That is our first spin. Let's spin it a second time. Screwball from 2019.
It's on Netflix. We got that at least.
Yeah, it says 2018 as well on IMDb. Billy Corbin.
Oh, this is a little documentary.
Okay, it's not. I was thinking, what's the guy from Smashing Pumpkins?
That's a good question.
I thought it was Billy Corbin. Anyway, Billy Corbin's true crime dramedy investigates the MLB's infamous doping scandal involving a nefarious clinician and his most famous client, the New York Yankees' Alex Rodriguez. Directed by Billy Corbin, written by Billy Corbin and David Sipkin, starring Frankie Diaz. Oh, I thought I was thinking Frankie Muniz for a second. Frankie Diaz, Brian Blanco, Ian Mackles, and Samuel Kai Taylor. It is a documentary / something, and that is on Netflix. That is Screwball.
I might have shot our foot on this one, and I apologize.
So spin number 3, please, film gods, make this a good one. Who knew?
Who knew?
That with a 7 rating, that we'd have a movie that I know I hate, even though it is a high rating, and a documentary about MLB baseball doping. Spin number 3. Bound, which is on Hulu, starring Jennifer Tilly, Gina Garrison, John Pantoliano, and John P. Ryan. It is written by the Wachowskis. Lily Wachowski, Lana Wachowski, probably as their dead names. Directed by them as well, the Wachowskis. Tough ex-con Corky and her lover Violet concoct a scheme to steal millions of stashed mob money and pin the blame on Violet's crooked boyfriend Caesar. That is on Hulu. Ooh.
Yes, it is.
I was not interested in it until I saw it was the Wachowskis.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the good news is I think we found our...
We did. I'm still a little skeptical about it because it really doesn't interest me that much, but it is the Wachowskis, which I love. That is going to be, I guess we're picking that, right?
I'm picking it.
All right. So Bound, that is on Hulu. You can check that out for our next week's episode.
something's gonna come along like it was made for you. Something that's gonna fit you like a glove. And that part of you that you got hidden away right now, that part of you that we know ain't straight, that's never gonna be straight, is gonna whisper in your ear. Just 3 little words. I want out.
Yeah, hopefully it's a good one. We'll see.
This is apparently their first movie, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always down to see. I mean, for all you Law and Order fans, it's got Christopher Milani and his tight ass.
His tight ass.
So, yeah, so we'll see. Yeah. Bound on Hulu. That is our assignment for next week. Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching, if you're watching this somehow. As always, you can check out our website, www.keystonefilmreview.com. On Instagram, we're Keystone_film_review. Twitter, Keystone_film. Facebook, Keystone Film Review. YouTube, Keystone Film Review. And on Letterboxd, I am Mike, KFR.
And I'm Glenn, KFR.
And that will do it until next week, where hopefully we'll watch a solid movie.
We'll be bound to watch Bound.
Directed by the Wachowskis. Ooh, why did you make that joke?
Boo.
Yeah, boo. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.